to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
President Seifert.
Present.
Vice President McDermott. Councilwoman Hardy.
Present.
Humes.
Here.
Councilman Miller.
Here.
Stoner.
Here.
Whitcomb.
Here.
Mayor Ritter.
Here.
Solicitor Coin.
Here.
Engineer Rogowski. Chief Spots.
Here.
Chief Seifert.
Present.
Junior Councilperson DeFastis.
Here.
Secretary Dennis.
Here. And we have a quorum. Before we begin this evening, I have the obligation of announcing an executive session that is scheduled to take place following the recess of Mechanicsburg Borough Council after the meeting for the purpose of discussing matters of personnel with action to be taken. I believe we have two guests with us this evening, even though one is listed on the agenda. I'd like to first recognize the presence of Mr. Brian Haynes, President of the Mechanicsburg Historical and Architectural Review Board. Sir, I'd be happy to turn the floor over to you at this point.
Yes, good evening. My name is Brian Haynes, and I'm actually the Vice Chairman of the HARB, but that's fine. I just wanted to clarify that. I'm also the architect on the board, and with me tonight is Eric Query, who is on our board as well. As you know, the objective of HARB is to really try to maintain the integrity of our historic borough. So this year, in cooperation with Mayor Ritter and with Borough Council, we've decided to start an annual awards program. It's something that we've not done before, at least not in my tenure on the board. So we thought it was important to recognize a lot of the properties that have come before us, and really those that people that just do an excellent job of maintaining their historic properties. So the board met on a couple of occasions, and we decided upon three different categories. The first category for a certificate of recognition is a category for those property owners that do a great job at just maintaining the historic nature of their property. The second category would be a category for a property owner that came before us, came before our board with a project, and basically finished their project in a manner that deserves recognition. And then the third category would be a category of excellence, and we recognize two properties that came before us to receive awards of excellence. The hardest category for us to really kind of narrow in on was probably the maintaining category, because there are so many great properties here in the borough, and a lot of property owners that really do a fantastic job at maintaining their properties. So upon our meeting and discussing that, we've narrowed down and selected 6 properties that we felt deserving of certificates of recognition. So I'd like to present those certificates if I could.
Please.
Okay. I see a lot of people here, a lot of faces I don't know, so if I do happen to mention your property or your name, if you would please come up and we'll present your certificate. So again, for the category of maintaining the property, the first recipient is Jay Stoner at 124 East Locust Street. Jay, are you here? Jay? You've done a fantastic job maintaining your property. It's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
The second award, actually, I just recently heard that Gene Kreiser passed away, I guess this week, I believe. But Gene Kreiser at 430 West Main Street. If you're not familiar with that property, it's a fantastic property. Recently just sold. Is there, I think they were invited, the new owners were also invited. Are they here, do you know? No? Okay. But 430 West Main Street was the second recipient. The third recipient was Kenneth B. Robinson and Associates at 40 West Main Street. The next property is Mr. and Mrs. Thompson at 106 South High Street.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next property is Gary, is it Muscio? Muscio and Greg Myers at 222 South Market Street. No?
I came before the board several times and have followed up on a lot of projects. Very
Okay.
nice job.
And the final property in this category was Gene Kiefer at 413 West Main Street, one of my neighbors.
much.
Thank you. Okay, the next category is for those that have come before us with significant projects. And the first award is for Moda Salon at 56 West Main Street. Anyone here from Moda?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next property is Brian LaRue and Tracy Ludwig at 212 East Main Street.
Very nice job, guys.
The next property is the Orr's House Inn at 318 West Main Street. The next property is Andrew C. Shealy at 127 South Market Street. Okay, and the next property is Dr. and Mrs. Verrecchio at 403 West Main Street. Okay, the next one is Beverly Bone, 144 East Main Street. I know I saw Beverly.
Great job.
And the final award in that category is Michael Giordano at 221 West Main Street.
Thank you.
Okay, finally, there were two properties that the board felt definitely deserving of a certificate of excellence. These two projects took on significant renovations, and we just felt that really in all aspects, really fantastic job. Okay, we decided upon one residential property and one commercial property. The first one is for Dr. and Mrs. Luley at 417 West Main Street. And this project took on a significant exterior renovation and interior renovation, actually. But exterior renovation, completely rebuilding the porch, a very meticulous paint job. So I'd like to present you with a certificate of excellence, as well as a cast plaque. Here's part of the plaque. And hopefully, you'll proudly present one that's outside of your building. It's very heavy.
Hang on, it's heavy.
Is the Art Gallery of Metropolis Collective, also an excellent property, an excellent project. The board felt that on this property, just the meticulous detail, respecting the Art Deco style of the building, the details of the black and white facade, the restoration of the lighting, and really just even the simple signage you put on the front of the building, also very excellent. So we felt that was a very nice project. Again, these are kind of heavy. If you haven't seen the plaque says, "This property has been recognized for excellence by the Mechanicsburg Borough Historical Architectural Review Board," and of course then the address. So,
Sorry to be so
plaque.
secretive with you.
Hopefully we'll be back next year with more awards. So,
Look forward to it.
thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Councilwoman Hughes, would you share anything you'd like to add?
Well, I'm just very happy that this has finally happened. We've talked about awards, but we haven't gotten to them until this year. So we had a lot of catching up to do, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Very good. Next guest we have on the agenda this evening is Robert Burig, President of the Downtown Mechanicsburg Partnership.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. It's usually not that quiet at funerals. Good evening. Thank you. On behalf of the Downtown Mechanicsburg Partnership, first and foremost, we'd like to say thank you. Thank you to all of council. Thank you especially to Councilwoman Humes for all of your guidance over the years and your continued work as a liaison with our organization. And of course, you were integral in the founding of it. We'd like to thank you for our 2013 civic allotment. And we wanted to give you a little bit of an update on what we've accomplished so far in this year, 2014, because we think it's been fairly significant. We've worked very hard. As most of you know, we've undergone a complete reorganization of our organization. but everything from the name change all the way to the structure of our committees, the structure of our board members. We've had a number of board members cycle in and out this year. We have completely redone our succession plan for our organization, which is critical. We've put new technology in place, both from a marketing perspective as well as from an administrative perspective. We have a new website, new Facebook presence. We have a tremendous amount of activity with the Foot Traffic Committee. The downtown businesses have been just fantastic to work with. Vonnie Getz from Brittlebark has done a phenomenal job. Kim King from Levy and Rose, which will open soon. Every time we ask her, it's always soon, so we hope it's very soon. All of the businesses have been wonderful. The committee has been wonderful to work with. We have a number of new board members with very specialized skills. The newest board member coming on board in November, and this is an announcement of sorts, will be a return of an old board member. Sue Erdman has agreed to come back on our board, and we're just thrilled to have her back. We participated this year in even a greater variety of events. Everything from participating with the Fireman's Parade Block Party and participating with the Chamber of Commerce, of course, in the Streets of Trees yet to come this year. And the tree lighting with Santa, we're going to do that again this year. We're also, we had a great turnout this year for Earth Day. We were very pleased. The Art and Wine Walk, the Architectural and Wine Walk. First Fridays have continued to grow, and we plan on focusing much more effort in First Fridays next year. Small Business Saturday. We hope to have a great kickoff to the holiday shopping season this year, and again, we want to build on that for next year. Our community yard sale, which was a first for our organization, was very successful. We had a lot of participation, not just from the businesses in the downtown, but also from residents, and we felt it went well. The weather could have been a tad better, but we haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. The tribute dinner, our second annual, honoring Sue Erdman, of course, our first last year with the mayor, and we were very successful there. More than just being successful financially, although we did have some profit on those programs, we are reaching out. We're creating more bridges. We're working together and collaboratively with more organizations in the downtown and individuals. Our window contests, which Carmel Colors has got to win sooner or later, because that About Face program has been wildly successful. And if you've walked or driven past their storefront just this last week, it's quite stunning. We're very pleased with it. Speaking of About Face, which is one of our core focuses, we've completed 3 About Face projects this year. We have new brochures that will be unveiled very shortly. We've received our first, in quite a while at the very least, Cumberland Valley Visitors Bureau grant. We've received a $7,000 grant, and so our grant writing team is well underway and trying to generate revenue from other sources, income from other sources. Our gateway signage and lighting program is continuing to move forward. We added gateway lighting to one of our gateway signs recently this year. Next year we're going to bring, our plan is to bring the bridal walks back, which were fairly successful in years past. They start out small, but they grow each and every year. We'd like to continue the build out of our website. We're discussing, and these are all plans, we're discussing the Wi-Fi project in the downtown, to make the downtown a Wi-Fi zone. We're also working with the chief and the police department on possible cameras in the downtown district. We'd like to focus on that a little bit. Of course, benches, greening up, we go on and on and on. And we've just been, we've been very encouraged by the support of council. We've been very encouraged by the support of the businesses and the members of our own community, our neighbors. And we just wanted to come and say thank you very much. And please continue to work with us as you have and ask us for anything that you may need. And with your permission, perhaps I could ask if there are any questions about the Downtown Mechanicsburg Partnership that I could answer for you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Burek?
I like that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I hate to put anybody on the spot, but I happen to notice, and with us we have a Cumberland County Commissioner, Commissioner Gary Eichelberger. Would you have anything that you'd like to offer at this point before we open up for public comment? Welcome back.
Thank you. Never turned down the opportunity to hold the mic again, I guess, so thank you, Mr. President. I actually came on a whim, but there was one thing I wanted to bring up. And before I do, though, I do have to say I want to extend my congratulations as well to each of the property owners who've undertaken the maintenance and renovation. That's everywhere I go in the county and outside the county. People ask me where I'm from, and I say Mechanicsburg, and they always say, "Oh, such nice buildings there." And those are the things that really make our town special, and they make people want to live here. So the work you do just has such a multiplier effect in terms of not only our property values, but the image of our town and the livability of our town. So I want to extend my appreciation personally as a resident of the borough for all that you do as well. One other thing, it was interesting to hear the downtown partnership as well. I want to congratulate them on especially the Cumberland Valley Visitors Bureau grant. That is one of the results of a grant program we put in place a number of years ago at the county to help organizations just like Downtown Partnership to make progress. So the county has always said, we don't have all the ideas, we don't have all the answers when it comes to downtowns and tourism. So we try to leverage good ideas that are out there from others, and the grants program is one of the things we put in place to make that happen. And very, very pleased to see Downtown Mechanicsburg Partnership earning that grant and putting that to good use in all the good things that they do. It's really exciting to see the things that are happening here in Mechanicsburg, especially in the last few years. It takes a lot of work and good volunteers to make those things happen, and again, they add to the livability. I'll get to my point very quickly. The Cumberland County is continuing to run a citizen survey you may have read about in the newspaper or heard about elsewhere. We had also provided, I believe, some information to Patrick about it as well. The county is beginning our annual budget process, and as part of that, I think a lot of folks know that we have a very difficult budget again this year, and one of the things that's going to be required of the county is for us to do some prioritization and make some choices in terms of what we do with the money we have. So we've undertaken a survey that we have opened up to citizens across the county. And what I want to do is encourage each and every one of you to go to the county website at www.ccpa.net and participate in that. It takes about 15 minutes of your time, but the purpose really is for us as commissioners to gather as much information as possible about what our public really wants and expects from county government. And the goal there is so that the Board of Commissioners collectively can reach a determination on what are those things that our citizens most value and that have the most impact on your lives, so that we can ensure that we're putting the limited dollars that we have in the right place, in those places where they matter to citizens. And so for us to do that, we need your input and we need as much of it as possible. So as I say, about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more. If you want to take a real thoughtful approach and add some extra comments, which we always appreciate. But again, www.ccpa, Cumberland County, Pennsylvania.net, and there's instructions right on the front there. You can also go to the library where I just came from, and right down the street, and they will allow you to take it online. They'll set it all up for you. If you need a hard copy, they will provide you that. But they'll ask you for some information. We do have some safeguards in place to make sure there's no abuse of the system or stuffing in a ballot box by persons with, we know that wouldn't happen in Mechanicsburg, of course, but we wanted to have value for the commissioners and for the citizens. So I just wanted to take a second, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to bring that up with council. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Welcome back again. Okay, at this point, the meeting will recognize citizens' comments or requests. Is there anybody from the audience who'd like to be heard this evening? Anybody at all? Sir, if you could kindly give your name and address, please.
Yeah, it's John Holbert, 424 West Main Street.
Thank you.
And two things, really. Number one, where I live on 424, I believe it's called Byers Alley. The alley comes down between mine and my neighbor's house, and we have a stormwater issue there. There is an inlet at the end of the alley that whenever it rains hard, the inlet backs up. There's, I believe it goes over to the park. I'm not sure. Pat probably knows the direction of where it goes, but it backs up on the park side. And during really heavy rain events, we'll get times when it's actually, coming up with force out of the inlet. If it just ran down the alley in the back, that'd be one thing. But what's happening is my neighbor Mark Davis, it's going back and then it is flooding into his yard, and there's a hole now and a lot of water goes down that hole. Mark has put all kinds of sand and concrete and mulch and a lot of material down that hole. There's definitely a concern that we're going to have a sinkhole there if that's not taken care of, and it's been like that for a while, and somebody in the borough is aware of it. I'm not sure if Pat is directly or...
Yeah, we're actually purchasing a P-Stat or a Vector truck, and that's going to be one of our pilot projects with the highway department utilizing this new piece of equipment. We'll be cleaning, my guess would be that pipe hasn't been cleaned in a very long period of time. So for them to be able to do that, we're going to get the piece this year during the bugging cycle and have them do that probably either through this winter or early next year.
Okay, and hopefully that's soon enough, because, when you get a hole, obviously a lot of water's going down there, and when it backs up, it's a significant amount of water, and so it's doing something, and I'm sure it's eroding under his building, under his garage. It has to be eroding under mine as well. So I think it's a major concern. It is for me, and I hope that it gets taken care of before it's a serious problem.
Thank you for the heads up on it.
The second item, and this is something that has kind of been, it's been bothering me for quite a while, some things that I've experienced personally, and now some things that I've seen that have happened over the last few months, and I am totally unable to understand why. And what it is that it appears that when volunteers come to the borough and do things to get involved, to perhaps lend their expertise, to give opinions, they are not treated well. And Mr. Sechrist, I have emails from you that are that are the root of this, and then I've seen things where people on the rec board have been attacked. That's how it looks to me. And I don't understand how any borough can approach their volunteers in that manner. It doesn't make sense. These are people that are willing to give their time, their expertise, their passion, and when they're met with this type of behavior, I don't know, you're not going to accomplish anything positive from it, but I'm wondering if there is something that you're trying to accomplish with it, because it is pervasive. I had an experience where we own a building on Main Street, and when they were going through the changes to the curb ramps, I happened to have professional expertise in that area, and I just gave my opinion. What was proposed was a really bad idea, and as the property owner, I had to state my opinion because I had liability, and I stand by that today. What was proposed was going to cause me liability. We had a meeting, but there was a design done, paid for by the borough. We had a meeting. I'm sure that was paid for by the borough. And I went and I spent 15 or 20 minutes and looked at the ramp and I said, here are my suggestions. And what I came up with was what ultimately was installed, but it was not installed fully the first time. They put curb in, and then they didn't use the full plan, and it wouldn't work. So the curb was ripped out. Somebody paid for that. I'm sure it was us. And I sat there and I thought, if I was paying the bills for this, I would really have something to say. And I thought, wait a minute, I am paying the bills for this. And so during the course of this, I sent emails off to Pat, Dennis, and then I was all of a sudden a pain in the neck to the borough. I was told by you that Pat bent over backwards for us, that we were holding up the process, that we were slowing things down, and all we were trying to do was to get it done right. And it could have been done right the first time. So that's my personal experience. And now I see all these other things that are going on with other residents, and I don't understand, and I'd like to have that explained to me.
Well, first of all, Mr. Holbert, thank you for taking the time to your schedule to address council. If we can try to address the most recent issue, or the last issue that you raised first with regard to your curb, I'm guessing you're referring to the property that you own on East Main Street?
Right.
Okay. My recollection from that experience or from that process was that, yes, indeed, the borough was responsible for installing curb cuts. We were collaborating with PennDOT as well as our engineer. During that time, United Water Pennsylvania was in the process of installing much-needed water and utility lines underneath Main Street, or underneath the sidewalks on Main Street.
Along the right of way.
Okay, thank you, along the right-of-way. And the particular issue that you're referencing, with all due respect to, I believe, are you an engineer? Okay. You had said that you have some experience in curb cuts and so on, and I respect that. The problem that the borough was in at that time was United Water had gone as far as they could in installing their water upgrades that they were required to do on behalf of the 9,700 other residents in the borough. And because of your current, at that time, your sidewalk cut, and the borough had tried, both the borough manager as well as the engineer, and tried to work out a compromise. United Water's progress had to stop as a result of that. And in my judgment, when borough staff came to me as council president and asked, United Water is at a standstill, we have a responsibility, every other resident in the borough who depends on United Water service to get water into their homes. When I was asked the direction to take, I said, this process has been held up long enough. We need to take action on behalf of all the other people in the borough. And I said, with all due respect to you as somebody who may, according to you, has experience in curb cuts, but this is a situation where I could not in good conscience tell borough staff and the borough engineer to stop all action until some sort of compromise was reached, whatever our borough engineer, Pennoni Associates, who the borough hires to make plans like these, to implement them. And if it was an inconvenience to you, I apologize. If your feelings were hurt because we didn't take your idea.
My feelings don't get hurt. I
Okay.
don't operate that way. But what did happen was that there was a meeting that was held with all the owners except us. The first meeting. No, that happened. I mean, you can question all that you want to say, my experience, everything else, but that happened because we were told about it. We were not invited to the meeting. Don't know why, but we're the property owner that ultimately the decision was made by all the other property owners to put it there. I was fine with it. I'm fine with making it safer for people to cross the street and everything else. But had that been, in my opinion, not in my opinion, had it been appropriately handled, where all property owners, all affected property owners, and I'd like to kind of just put a footnote on that a person that is renting a building for a business really should not have an opinion on what goes into it, because they're gone whenever they decide to pick up and leave, which, unfortunately that happens to a lot of businesses in Mechanicsburg. But had we been invited to that meeting at the beginning, we would have voiced it, and it wasn't that we were arguing or anything else. What was designed was a bad design. You can look at it, compliancy has nothing to do with the design. If it's not a safe design, I know that as the property owner, whoever paid for it, didn't matter. I, as the property owner, had liability for it. So, I'm sorry if I held up the process, but had you invited me, the process wouldn't have been held up. So after the fact, after we found out from other people that it was being installed, we got involved and said, we don't like this. And so now all of a sudden we're holding up as you put it, all the residents in Mechanicsburg. Sorry.
Well,
it wasn't really my mess up.
Well, and again, I appreciate your input, but with all due respect to you, sir, if you can provide me evidence that some sort of a clandestine meeting was held without
Not
your...
clandestine at all. Come on.
Well, I mean,
Matt, it wasn't
Mr.
clandestine.
Holbrook-
That's not what I said. There was a meeting that was held with the other people down there. I could get those people and they'd tell you that they had a meeting. It just wasn't with us. I'm not saying it was clandestine, but you're sitting there saying that we held up everybody and that because we were being difficult or whatever it was, that's how your email came across. We weren't being difficult. We were just trying to take care of our property, and the meeting happened. It should have happened with us. It didn't. The second one happened with us. We voiced our opinion. We gave a good solution to the problem, and ultimately it was followed. Too bad they could have saved a little bit of money if they'd have done it right away.
Well, I appreciate all of your input, and with all due respect, I respectfully disagree with your assertion that some sort of a meeting was held without your participation, because that did not take place. And if you can provide me proof that that took place, I'll be more than happy to publicly apologize to you.
Okay,
So,
well,
there's, I mean, I've worked with borough staff for years here, sir, and I've never known them to engage in any kind of sneaky.
nobody said it was sneaky. You're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say it was
I think
sneaky.
the issue here, and John and I've worked with John, and I've worked with John as long as I've been here. I think the issue that we had from the get-go of this is that we had two different utility companies, us being a utility, United Water, working on this particular project. What Councilman Segrist is saying is correct, and if Mr. Rogalski was here, he would echo that concern, that we were hamstrung by, and in my opinion, you sit two attorneys, no offense, Lisa, in a room with another attorney, you're gonna get two different points of thought. The borough pays Greg Rogalski to design things for Borough Council and borough staff.
And we pay too.
And I understand that, as a constituent, you do too. It's a difficult position for us to be in when we have to trust the people that we use as our vendors. I was comfortable, Borough Council was comfortable with the designs that were put together and put forward for that moving forward. We had a difference of opinion on design, and you are the only property owners that we spent because of your expertise on it and gave you the ability to have an input in that particular process. We didn't have to do that, and I think that this is coming off as a negative when I think we're kind of, my staff included, and I'm defending Greg because Greg's not here, we didn't have to do that. We could have installed that ramp, we could have given you 10 days notice and installed it, but we didn't do that. So I don't think anybody's here to be difficult. I know I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm sorry that you had that experience with us, but, if Greg was sitting here now, I would still side with Greg that what we built is fine. I'm comfortable with it. I'm sorry that you...
What's there now is fine. What's there now is fine, what was designed. But Pat, let me ask you a question, and would you accept this with your staff, that in the interest of time and expediency, that you'll accept things that are less than the quality that they should be?
Your question is loaded in the fact that if I trust my staff as somebody, that a vendor that we hire, and they give me advice for that particular thing, for example, the road and the storm sewers that are out there, I had to use and use Greg's expertise in that capacity. It worked. If it wouldn't have worked, then I would have had to go back to Greg and say, this didn't work. These curb ramps don't have that sort of cause and effect to them.
Right.
So, in my opinion, and I don't have a background in that, I have to go with Pannoni as the borough's engineer, that what they're doing is in the best interest for this community, and how we construct that ramp and how we spend that money and how we do that does make sense, and it is appropriate. We have a difference of opinion on that, and that's how this whole process started. And in fact, I mean, I recall standing outside the Greek restaurant looking at plans on the back of your car. I mean, that's a level of customer service that you're not going to get in a lot of other municipalities. And that's why it's hard for me to sit here and say, we tried the best that we could to accommodate your request. I don't think we're ever collectively going to get on the same page that particular project, because of the way that Main Street is designed, there are definitely going to be things that we've had to fix. Candidly, the ramp at Washington Street, we had to have Pensy come in, cut out portions of that so that didn't pond anymore. They built a ramp that didn't work. Candidly, I'll admit that. Wasn't designed correctly, it didn't function, and we fixed it. So we're here to help, but I think that particular situation and that particular circumstance rectified itself, but it's also, we spent 30 days trying to get to a common ground that we didn't have to do. And I think sometimes we all need to keep that in perspective, that I don't have my staff out there just willy-nilly making decisions. We spent time, energy, and it eventually got a little nasty, but we tried the best that we could. And then I apologize that you had a negative experience.
Well, and I think that the whole thing was, I went into it with the intent to make sure that my property was protected,
I understand.
for one. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense to put what I believe is a dangerous situation. And I've ridden in wheelchairs on ramps and everything else. It doesn't make sense to do that. My point when I came up here, though, was really more to the side of how my suggestions were met, because it did get nasty, and I don't understand that, because the nastiness, I don't believe that I was nasty, because I read through those emails, but if I became a little bit pushy in my emails, it was because of the way that I was being received. Those emails that I got from you, were just full of agitators. And
No doubt
they were
about it.
in there, and they were in there on purpose.
I
And then it
know.
went to Matt, and Matt hadn't talked to me, he hadn't done anything, and he said, "You've done nothing but bend over backwards."
Which
and-
I would sit here and say that there is
You do.
absolutely, in the 5 years that I have been here, no resident that I have had 4 or 5 meetings with about the front of their property in regards to a car brand.
Yeah, not 4 or 5 meetings,
It was
but I guess,
But my adjectives were definitely out of a sense of frustration, and I have no problem saying that publicly. That it got very frustrating back and forth because we were spending an inordinate amount of time on one particular ramp. And that's my opinion on it. You have a difference of opinion, and that's fine.
I guess the reason for my difference of opinion was the suggestion that I made was ultimately the solution that was installed, and it was the only one that worked. So, okay.
How much did you pay for that ramp? The
We
one that was
didn't pay,
installed?
we did not pay for the ramp. Your
How much money
point,
did
I'm
I
sorry?
grant?
I just wanted to know.
Okay.
That was my
Oh.
question.
So, and it comes back to the volunteers. It comes back to the volunteers. How is this borough going to treat the people that are willing to give their time and energy to it? I'm not seeing anything that makes me say that I want to sit up and do a whole lot, because it's just offensive treatment from what I've seen. And my opinion's voiced anyway.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. I mean, if you feel that I've treated volunteers in this community unfairly, once again, you're entitled to your opinion. What I can tell you is that through the process of the past, say, 4 to 5 months, beginning back in June, when Borough Council was submitted a proposal to substantially reform the way that recreation is administered here in the borough, which was a very common sense approach. Frankly, it would have been, if we could have been successful in implementing it, would have been a very, very similar model to the way that our current joint pool committee works, where we bring in, where the committee meets when it's necessary to do so. We call it the hybrid of volunteers and elected officials that comprise it, that make decisions about capital improvements. Pursuing that tract, I still absolutely believe was the right way to go. However, it's like they say, if whenever you go to remove a Band-Aid, you can either do it slowly or you can do it painfully. And if you do it painfully, it hurts. But you still have to do it. And I draw that parallel into the fact that when Borough Council made a 180-degree turn in a matter of 2 weeks, where first there were 4 votes to disband the rec board and pursue a new format for doing it, to 2 weeks later when there was a 3-3 tie in a different direction. One of the first things that the borough did to be compliant with state law was to take over financial control of the rec board. The first meeting in June occurred. The borough manager and I met down at the PNC Bank the following Friday, and to be compliant with the law, Act 43 of 2012, we signed the signature cards to be able to take over financial control of the rec board. And when the financial records were turned over to the borough office, what we uncovered, frankly, was horrendous. And, I mean, I'm not going to, I read a memorandum from my colleague, Councilman Miller, who was chairman of finance, that detailed everything from more than $1,000 wasted in unpaid, unnecessary sales tax because the borough is a tax exempt entity, to $129.87 for cell phone charges, late cell phone fees. 4 out of 6 consecutive cell phone payments were paid late, amounting to additional $20 that the borough had to pick up. A $25 Victoria's Secret gift card as a thank you. Scores, more than 40 Texas Roadhouse Steakhouse gift cards, with no description as to how those gift cards were distributed. $53.21 for photo Christmas cards. I mean, the list goes on and on. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And, you know, if looking out for taxpayers who have to pay taxes, work hard to pay those taxes, to pay garbage like that, that's one thing. But the difference between the way I perceive myself as an elected official, when I took this job, and I hate how pious this is going to sound coming out of my mouth, but I'll own it. I took an oath of office to, among other things, uphold the laws of the Commonwealth, as well as the Constitution of the Commonwealth. And when I get handed to me a notice from the borough solicitor from the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue saying that the borough's sales tax license had been revoked for non-payment of sales tax, and I'm being advised by legal counsel that the only recourse the Borough of Mechanicsburg has to not only save me personal liability, but every one of my colleagues here, culpability in that, is to shut down the concession stand until the sales tax issue could be settled, which it was, thanks to our borough solicitor. So, with that said, if, like I said before, pulling the Band-Aid off can be painful, but we've done that. We've taken over financial control of the rec expenses, finally. I have absolute faith and trust and belief in borough staff that there will be no more sales tax payments made or any other, frankly, malfeasance. And malfeasance can apply to public officials whether or not they're elected. Malfeasance can also apply to volunteers. So what the borough did was, we took over financial control, and whether or not the problem was with the process, like my colleague, who I deeply respect, believes was the bottom of the root of the problem here, was not with the individuals, but with the process. The good part about this is that we fundamentally changed the process. We've taken financial control away from unelected volunteers who are accountable to nobody. And if the process that we've gone through, which has been extremely painful, to put it mildly, I will tell you that it was worth it to be able to get to this point where I can rest at night knowing that there isn't going to be any more abuse and misappropriation of tax dollars the way that has obviously been occurring for years. So you asked for my response on why I'm being mean to volunteers. You know, I just concluded a meeting upstairs with members of the Environmental Advisory Council who are in the process they had FaceTime this evening with members of the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to talk about planning a natural play areas as the borough as a possible location for a pilot program. And this wouldn't be happening if it weren't for volunteers who are trying to do that. To bear the responsibility for calling attention to serious mistakes that have taken place. But just because those mistakes were made by volunteers does not mean I'm going to sweep it under the rug and pretend that serious problems did not take place up to this point. And I'll tell you what, I'll take all the responsibility for all the anguish that the members of the rec board have taken over the past year if I get 1% of the credit for helping to clean up this process. So I thank you for your comments. I hope I tried to answer your questions.
My only response to that is that I just hope, I really hope that you took the time to ask questions and to research more than you did in your email response to me. Because if you did not, because there's always two sides to everything, and sometimes things that are totally innocent can be made to look totally uninnocent by someone with the wrong intentions.
I agree, completely.
With that, you know, my last comment, Mr. Segrist, I just want to be on the record. Personally, I would like to ask you to step down as the president. I'd like to ask you to do it. I don't think that you're helping to progress this community in a positive manner.
Okay.
And I'm on the record for saying it.
Great.
But,
And I thank you for your input, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there any other citizen comment this evening? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Robin Agerton, and I live at 423 West Simpson Street. And some of the questions and information that you and Mr. Holbert shared made me, something occurred to me. I didn't know that you had, how did you say that, vendors, or that you had borough engineers that you hired to do the work. And if you remember, when I got the letter to have the sidewalk and the curbing repaired at 423 West Simpson, where I live, I asked you to come out to my property, because when we purchased that property in 1987, new curb work was done then. And at that time, my basement took water. And when I contacted the powers that be then, they sent somebody out and discovered that there was a French drain, and to this day, I still do not know what a French drain is, but it was blocked, and they repaired it, and then that solved the water problem. The house is over 100 years old, so it's an issue. So when we got the next letter, I contacted Mr. Dennis, and he came out to my property.
Probably Mr. Foster, I probably didn't come to your property.
No, it was you. I think it was you.
Jason does, but that's fine.
But at that time, I said, we can't, my basement's dry, I mean, as a bone. And we've taken very good care of it. With an old house, as all of these people will contend, you have to take care of it. We've taken very good care of it, and I was assured that that was not, there wasn't going to be an issue. And my basement was filled with water on Friday. Now, the same similar water problems from September 2011, prior to this, and all of the other issues, no water. And, I didn't know there were engineers and all of these options were out there. And I don't know what recourse I have.
Did you suffer property damage? Or loss?
No, nothing is damaged except that I don't know how I'll ever sell a house with a 100-year-old house with a wet basement.
We'll have to the next time it rains. Now, keep in mind that we got 9 inches of rain
Well, we did in
on Thursday.
2011 too.
We got a lot of rain in 2011 too. The next time that happens, we have another issue up on Simpson Street that we're going to take a look at the next time it rains as well, and I'll have Greg go out and take a look at it to see where the water's coming from. But that's absolutely fine. It's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any? Yes, sir.
I'll try to be very brief. My name is Bill Walker, 170 Brindle Road, Mechanicsburg, PA. I would like the borough to consider a policy of not giving out needless fines by the code enforcement officer. It's a new thing around town. I've been dealing with Mechanicsburg for 40 years as a contractor and a landlord. Never had a problem with any other department before. The code enforcement officer that we have now, he's not certified to do inspections, so I don't know if he's meriting his pay by giving out fines that are needless. I don't know why there couldn't be a better relationship between borough office and people who are applying for permits. If something's not in compliance, it could be something as simple as telling a person rather than sneaking around trying to find a way to give a fine. I'm rather taken back that the borough has stooped to such cheap shots that aren't necessary at all. And I'm wondering if you, Mr. Sechrist, are responsible for these practices.
No. And just out of curiosity, what were you cited for, sir?
I was cited for starting a sun deck without getting a permit.
Okay, and you think that's a frivolous action?
I had talked to the code enforcement officer 3 times. I was putting up an outline of a frame so I could see how I would put posts around windows that were in the way. There was no problem with this at all. He had seen the plans 3 different times. I had talked to him 3 times. It's not like I'm trying to sneak a deck in without him knowing it. The amount of time that it takes to get a permit. I put some moldings around a door. It took 67 days to get a permit for it. In this case, I've been asking for my zoning permit for quite some time. The borough made up a false story concerning it. They said that I couldn't put on...
Mr. Walker, I'm just going to stop you like I did last time. And as I indicated, I believe you had come before council last time indicating that you had received a notification of a violation issued by the zoning officer. And I advised you at that time to appeal that to the zoning hearing board. Secondarily, you're now speaking as to a citation being issued to you without the proper framework for that to be adjudicated is in front of the district justice, not in front of this body. Certainly, there's no one here that has the wealth of knowledge that you have with regard to this. on this and to give an answer that is satisfactory to you. So what I would suggest is if you're asking whether or not you should have been issued a citation, I don't know if you should have been issued a citation, but the fact is that you were in the means and methods to adjudicate that, to make a determination whether that citation was fair and valid is with the district justice. Similarly, if you have an issue with the action of the code and zoning officer, as I explained last time, is for you to file a notice of appeal to the zoning hearing board. And I don't know if you've done that since the
What
last
does
time
it
we were
cost to
here.
file that appeal?
I don't know that, sir.
$600.
Well, that is the methodology by which you adjudicate and challenge any of the citations here.
I did have a very nice talk with the borough manager and the code enforcement officer. It worked out a number of the things. I'm just wondering, as a matter of policy, it seems that the issue that I'm talking about has perhaps already been resolved. And my only question is, does Borough Council want to have a policy of issuing fines when they aren't really necessary? I think you can just tell a person what you want or what you expect. And after having 3 conversations about, we aren't going to go back into that. I'm wondering about the policy of you, the board members, concerning giving out fines when I really don't think that they're necessary.
Again, if I may just, Mr. President, this council doesn't issue the citations for that and the fines.
But you give the authority.
If I may, sir, the authority is granted by way of the ordinance with the codification for this borough that has been enacted by prior council members, councils, etc. So as far as whether you like the law that is on the books and whether you believe that you have violated that, the form by which you challenge that is, as I just explained, is the zoning hearing board. And whether the fines are issued and adjudicated, again, if you have issue with how the code and zoning officer is interpreting and applying the statute and the ordinance, the means to challenge that is with the zoning hearing board, which I told you the last time. As far as a citation being issued, then the method to challenge that is before the district justice, not here. The code and zoning officer is empowered to enforce the laws, just like in a similar vein that a police officer is authorized to enforce the laws. So to ask this body here to not enforce the laws that they have enacted on behalf of all of the citizens, this council doesn't have that authority to do that.
I'm asking for a policy of a kinder, gentler dealing with the public.
Well, I heard something differently, and I apologize if that is what the point was. I thought the point was that you didn't like the
No.
fact that a fine was issued.
I've had a talk with Patrick, very much of a gentleman. We had a very good discussion. No, I'm just saying the policy of just giving out fines to landlords and contractors, I just don't think that's a policy that promotes the borough of Mechanicsburg. All right, that's it. Thank you
Mr.
very much
Walker.
for your time.
Appreciate it. Comments this evening? Yes, ma'am.
May I ask where that $600 goes?
I'm sorry, ma'am. First of all,
You said your citation was $600. Where does that money go?
well, if you would kindly come to the podium, state your name and address, and I'll do my best to answer that question for you.
My name is Charlotte Griffiths. I live at 108 South Walnut Street.
Thank you.
And I met Mr. Borough Manager a couple of times about my sidewalk.
Okay.
But I'm still paying for it. But anyway, where does the $600 go? You said that citation was $600.
I don't, excuse me, that's not what the citation costs.
Yeah, that's for the zoning.
That is what it would cost to appeal the zoning and hearing, go to the zoning and hearing board for an appeal on a violation.
Is there an amount of money the citation is?
The fine, I don't know, my personal opinion is I don't know exactly what the
It's a
fine.
maximum of $1,000 a day, but the conversation that we had with Mr. Walker was, and candidly, not that I want to disclose the minutes of that private meeting, but.
I'm a widow and I'm retired and I've raised my family here. And we have a hard enough time paying our taxes in this town.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other citizens' comments this evening?
What is the purpose of the $600?
The $600, if you appeal to the zoning hearing board, is to pay Marlon McCaleb, who is an attorney that sits there during the entire hearing, as well as the court transcriptionist that sits there during the entire hearing, as well as the binding and documentation that is provided from the courts to the municipality. I can tell you without question, we lose $300 or $400 every single time we have a zoning hearing board meeting, which is why it's a scotch frustrating that when we try to work with residents in this capacity, we understand that $600 is a lot of money. Furthermore, from a business perspective, I lose money on that. So if we can help somebody move through the process without going through the zoning hearing board, conditional uses are the same way. We don't make money on conditional uses. We don't make money on zoning hearing board meetings. We lose money. And so, I mean, literally, I think the last zoning hearing board meeting we had, and I'd have to pull it up, I think the total bill was $1,100. So that doesn't even begin to cover the cost of what it takes to have those hearings. So, I mean, that's, truth be told, that's what it is.
That's a very good point, and I didn't know that, so.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. No problem, Bill.
Thank you.
No problem. It's a good question, John.
If the appeal is upheld, does the person get their money back?
No, because essentially, that would be a policy decision for council, but I mean, then we would be losing $1,100 as opposed to losing $500. So, I mean, that would be, you could, like Lisa said, I mean, you could do that, but.
It's similar to a filing fee. If you file in court, whether you win or lose, you have that, so.
Yes, ma'am, you indicated desires.
Yes.
Would you kindly give your name and address again, please?
4 West Main Street. I appreciated the last gentleman's comments, and actually I wanted to speak to that a little bit. I think the approach of the enforcement, I would agree with that, is sometimes rough here. There's not a level of customer service that I think should be here that would promote a better relationship between the service providers, the people that we're paying for their salaries, and those of us that are trying to conduct business or bring business here. I've experienced it a number of times. I won't rehash it here, but I think one of the things that you need to understand is the policy that we have needs to change. We need good leadership to change that policy. I had to pay $600 for a conditional use hearing because the tenant that I wanted to bring in didn't appear to meet the current regulation. A lot of us put a lot of effort, went to planning commission. There was money spent to write a text amendment to the code that I don't think was taken to heart, and I don't know how well you all understand the code, understand what you do to bring in good businesses. You don't try to tighten up the code, restrict good uses. Take a look at the uses that are permitted in our downtown. So I'm talking about personal use is one of the things that should be in here. Because we had primarily people that were interested in bringing personal use in on Main Street. It's a very good generator of foot traffic. If you don't believe me, go around other small towns. I'm sure the businesses, and including the cafe across the street that closed down because they didn't have enough foot traffic, would have enjoyed our first tenant that we had in there, thinking we had a good zoning permit, later to learn that we did not, and we had to have them leave, go through a conditional use hearing, paid $600. You need to change that. You need to work through it. You need to work hard. Just because it's in the policy doesn't mean that this board can't change it, and you can. That's who writes land use ordinances and zoning regulations. It's taken you how long to address that? You hired a consultant? Where is that? I did want to ask, where are we at with that?
So October 21st, it was in the back of the sewer bills. They're meeting to discuss it. The final draft was in our hands last
So it's been 12 months. Just seems to me no excuse to take that long to change a little easy part of the code. No excuse for that. The other thing I want to bring up, because you seem to talk a lot about being concerned about taxpayers' money, and I don't think I believe that. You use the word horrendous to define what you found out when you reviewed the books, the accounting mistakes. And I just caught a couple of them. $1,000 for something, $129 for a cell phone.
More than $1,000 for unnecessary payments of sales tax.
Yeah, I was just catching these. $25 for Victoria's Secret. So we don't know, how that happened, and it's good that you're looking into it. But what I looked into in looking through invoices at the borough, because I started getting to concern what you were having borough staff spend time on, President Sechrist, and I do believe that you are behind this. Applying perhaps rigorously And I'm not sure inappropriately, I think it was completely legal that you apply the citations to certain business owners and certain property owners for violations of code. And I don't think we need to get into that. But what I was interested in is how much, yes? You find that amusing?
No, not at all, but,
You're smiling.
well, yeah, I am smiling because you like to have it both ways, Ms. Holbert. You like to speak in generalities, but when it comes to making specific accusations.
Okay, well, we can do that. I've got it on my
let's do it.
phone.
Please do.
I wanted to
Let's
see.
Let's reference the property in question that you're addressing.
It's on West Main. I'm not sure exactly the number. But it's just the principle, I think, and that money was spent to pursue and go over and be in front of the district court, I guess, here in Mechanicsburg. And I believe that the borough did not win that particular appeal to fines. Ms. Coyne, you were there, so you would know what I'm talking about. I did review your invoices. And so what I'm concerned with, in what I've heard, is that fines were issued after the fact. There was activity happening to address the particular situation. Was a suspected person living in a commercial unit, living there, and using that. And whether or not that happened or not, I don't know. But that was what was suspected, and that's what the fines were for. But they came in after the fact. They were issued one per day for 15 days for a total of $15,000. These are good residents that they were issued to. Why in the world didn't you do it kinder and gentler, like this gentleman said? It seems to be punitive kind of damages that you're after, almost vindictive to me. Why are we? As a taxpayer, I don't want you spending my money like that to pursue things like that.
Matt, can I
Fix your code. Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
You can break the ice. I get to
Sure.
chime in on this
No,
one.
Okay.
it's uncomfortable for me to have this conversation, because not only was it not Councilman Seegers, but borough staff brought a 6-7 page memo to Borough Council detailing over 3.5 years of working with the property owner at that location on trying to get the tenants out of that particular property. So we spent 3.5 years, which I would define as kind and gentle, trying to get the property owner to remove people who did not have showering facilities, who did not have any way to cook food in a commercial property where they were living. We had several meetings. We took every course of action possible. The citations were based upon the condemnation notice that we put on the building, because you are exactly right. Processes were in place to remove them, then they stopped. We condemned the building as unfit and unsafe for human habitation, and then the citations were issued for every day that the property, once it was condemned, the tenants still were in there. So that's how we got to $15,000. Once we did that, we brought all of that to the majority of Borough Council. In fact, I think everybody was there that meeting, went over that, and Council as a whole, not that I'm throwing them under the bus, took our advice, and I'll fall on the sword for it, that we issue citations moving forward for this, because we had spent, and we couldn't cite them for 4 years previous. We could cite them for 20 days for the people living in a condemned building without any means and mechanism to cooking their own food or having a showering facility, which we thought as public servants was inappropriate. Then we went to the district magistrate, and we unfortunately, as the judge said during the hearing, there's no doubt in my mind that the people were living there. We lost on some lame technicality associated with it. So we spent 4 years working on that project. Salary, time, everything, absolutely right. And we did not come back with any sort of citations. But it wasn't vindictive, it wasn't punitive. We spent years trying to work with those people, and it just didn't work out. Years.
Since the words vindictive and mean, I believe, have been raised, in the chronology that the borough had in this particular case, we were provided with a timeline that includes August 4th, 2011, when the daughter of the people in question who were living in that storefront filed a complaint with the Mechanicsburg Police Department and requested a 302 for her mother. A 302, as I understand it, is a involuntary mental health issue. She stated that the former resident in question is living at 71 West Main in the front office, which is intended for a business, not a residence. She stated that they blocked the store front window with plants and mirrors and have an inflatable mattress that they sleep on. The location does not have any shower facilities, only a sink and a toilet. Now, while we're talking about vindictive and mean, I mean, just out of curiosity, if I'm paying $585 per month for a place to live, how much more above the $585 do you think would be fair to pay for a bathtub or a shower?
I can't.
Or an oven to be able to cook food
As
in?
far as I know, they were renting it for a business. I don't know all the details about it. I'm asking about how it was addressed when at some point somebody realized that they weren't conducting business there. I think they made the statement they were.
But Mr. Davis just stated that it took 3 years to work on this. These people that were renting that property knew exactly what that facility entailed. And it did not have cooking or bathing facilities. And they were collecting the rent on that property all that time.
I mean, just to chime in, not to interrupt Councilwoman Harding, but we're talking about people with obvious mental health issues who were forced to wash their dishes in the same sink.
They were forced to do that.
Only feet away from where they use the bathroom facilities.
Right. It seems to me it was a mental health issue.
So we're dealing with people with disabilities, and in the end, the borough got whacked by the judge for having taken so long to file the charges because we did not want to create a situation whereby people with disabilities were going to be thrown on the street.
Right, and I understand there's another issue with the filing, with the way it was handled. I don't know the details of it, but I'm assuming that it's going to be a cost to the taxpayers just as pursuing the fines in the way that you did. It seems to me the right, trying to work with the landlord to do an eviction or removal, which I think that they said they were working on, once they determined and were convinced that somebody was living there, spending the night and not conducting business. But I understand they were also, I don't know if it was a live-work unit or what have you. I do not know the details. What my point is that you're using our taxpayers' money to pursue something to that extent, and you're saying horrendous on the fees for the recreation department, but we're talking about thousands of dollars for that.
And I'm also talking about horrendous living conditions that people with disabilities were forced to live in while the landlady was taking their checks every month and cashing them.
And what was going on?
And furthermore, I'd like to refer Ms. Lambert to the 18 separate police incidents, 18 separate incidents involving this property. 18 separate complaints.
Yes.
And
that's
finally concluding with the condemnation of the property.
And?
So, I mean, do you really believe that I've got the amazing power to be able to hold a gun to the head of each of the police officers here who filed charges and with complaints?
It seems to me there needed to be, since there was a person with if you're telling me that the person had mental health issues, I don't know that.
They did.
Okay. It seems to me that there needed to be some other support to find other living quarters for this individual. I don't know.
We tried to contact the Office of the Aging and they wouldn't do it
and-
because they were above an income threshold.
I hope you heard what he said. Did you hear what he said?
They're above the income threshold, that they did try to do that.
Yes.
So you see, as fining the landlord, as a way to remove the people from the building.
How else do you suggest we enforce the law?
I just suggest a friendlier, without fining. I think that they were working on it. That's what I was told.
So after
They were
3
working on it.
years, after 3 years of working on it, how else do you suggest we enforce the law?
And
when
why
you say-
is it the borough's responsibility to find other living conditions when these people, the people who were renting to...
And why is it the landlords?
Well, the landlord...
I'm a landlord, and I don't think that would be my responsibility. I would probably do it if I recognized an issue.
The landlord was renting this property as a commercial
Right.
business, and it was being, and they knew the people were living there, and there was no business being conducted.
In general, I'd just like to reiterate that as a taxpayer, I don't see what I reviewed as being a wise and good use of our money, and that it could be done quite differently. Perhaps different agencies should be involved. You certainly have staff that work with different agencies. I'm sure the police, I don't know to the extent that they go outside of coordinating on the behalf of the, Department of Welfare that's in the county.
Did you
In any case.
understand that Mr. Dennis did do that? He did contact the Department of Aging?
To see if they could help, and there was an income threshold issue. And I wonder where it went after that. But the other topic that I wanted to address, and I want to thank my husband for coming up and pointing out again about it's a walkability issue and a safety issue. And you had talked about personal liability, and that's why you were so passionate about looking into the books at the Recreation Department, because you felt that it was a personal liability issue for you and also for the board. But I want to suggest, wait, let me finish.
Ma'am, no, you're
No.
trying your best to twist my words. The borough solicitor advised me that all 7 members of council could theoretically be personally held liable if we continue to allow the concession stand to collect sales tax, despite the fact that the borough's sales tax license had been revoked by the Pennsylvania
Right.
Department of Revenue.
Okay. Right, that's what I said, it was a personal liability issue. It could be a liability issue, and that's fine. You had a liability issue with the design of the first crosswalk and curb ramps. And thank goodness that we did recognize that before you built it. It was a liability issue. Somebody could have been killed, far worse than the personal liability issue that you were naming for the poor accounting on the books for the Recreation Department. You never put a diagonal crosswalk on a main street like that where you have most of the corners aligned. Just don't do that.
Thank you.
Right, and you'll ask, well, our engineer.
And, on the rec board, I don't think that some of those people, and I sit up there and probably was guilty of it too, I don't think some of those people had a guideline to go by. Which came in with an axe, with no guideline, and just chopped them right off, or tried to. Maybe they needed a guideline. You were on that when they set the pool up. That should have been seen.
Okay, thank you, Councilman
Yeah.
Snow,
Now,
Councilman Snow.
on the parks.
I wish whenever you were on council, you could have provided some constructive input into making the process better.
Well, you know what? Maybe not all the councilman members get the true facts that come from behind that table. I can tell you that. And I don't want any remarks. He knows nothing about it, what I'm coming up here with. We haven't discussed that. But sometimes there's things pulled out of people's pocket back there that surface that none of the other people know about. And we're coming up here for budget that you'll be addressing very shortly. And that's the only reason I came tonight, was because of that. This book has been compiling for a year. Now, I hope that you'll take some of these things into reconsideration for your 2014 budget. And I would like to know, Mechanicsburg Area Parks and Recreation is the same as the rec board. I'm asking a question.
Could you give me your question again, please?
Is the Mechanicsburg Area Parks and Recreation Department the same as the rec board?
No, sir.
They're not?
No.
Okay. Okay, just bear that in mind when we get to it. Do you recall who might be on your finance committee chairman in last year?
That was Councilman Miller, who still serves in that capacity.
Okay, and he chaired that particular committee, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In making the recommendations to the council for the 2013 Borough Council budget, would he have been the one to be in that capacity?
Technically, officially, yes.
Okay. In reference to the pavilion rentals for 2013, was the recommendation submitted to other council members in 2012 and preparing the 2013 Borough Mechanicsburg budget.
I recall that that was an issue of discussion during the budget.
Was that
process.
discussed up here?
Yes.
Okay, and I think I was here the night that that was discussed, and Councilman Miller threw out a $50 bill, so that should be no problem for people who want to rent it. And I believe the rest of the people here all stated that that was, they thought too high. The thing was tabled to come back out at the next meeting. Did it?
Yes.
Yeah, Councilman Stoner, or sorry, former Councilman Stoner. My recollection was the council, in pretty great detail, discussed the issue of whether or not to charge rental fees on pavilions.
Did it come out at the next meeting?
Sir, it came out during a finance committee meeting. Where
Right, but did it come out on the floor at the next meeting?
Mr. Stoner, please don't shout at me.
I'm asking you a question, I'm getting no answer.
I'm trying to answer your question
Okay?
between
I'm
your
sorry.
interruptions.
I'm sorry.
This issue was discussed as a part of the finance committee meeting process. As we were putting together the budget, this indeed was an issue that was discussed, and I'm here to tell you, it was not a unanimous decision. Because you recall that I, like you, when you were still on council, philosophically had a problem with charging borough residents with a fee on facilities that they're paying tax dollars to support. You and I were in complete agreement on that, as we continue to be.
I know we were, you rent pavilions also, I know that.
Right. But the reality was, there was a majority of members of council that felt that this proposal was the way to go. And in the interest of trying to get a budget to put together on time, we came to a consensus and we put together the budget and we passed it.
So you still have not answered my question.
And your question is what, sir?
Did it ever come back out on the floor?
Yes, sir, it did.
Right up here?
As part of the budget.
No, it didn't.
Yes,
I
it
got
did.
documents here that show that it
As
didn't.
part of the budget, the revenue line item for the park pavilion
Pull the
rental
minutes
fee-
out, pull the minutes.
The revenue line
I wanna
item
see
for
the
the
minutes.
park pavilion fees was included in the budget. The
I wanna see
budget
the
was put
minutes.
on the floor
Mr.
and voted
Stoner,
on.
Mr. Stoner, this is not a debate. This is public comment.
Okay.
I've been trying to be very, very liberal in allowing back and forth this evening. Please.
Okay, I realize that, and I'm sorry that I brought it up here tonight.
I
But I
appreciate the
don't
fact that
think
you
it
feel
was the
strongly about
budget that
this.
they need to be, that brought up. Does anybody know on that rental from last year what might have been taken in on that, in this year so far?
I don't have that information.
$2,800.
How much?
$2,800.
Gee, that's an odd figure. That's only about $1,000 over what did come in, so, I don't know.
Mr. Stoner, just so you understand that we weren't trying to be mean or vindictive in setting these fees or for pavilion rentals. Even though I philosophically agree with you that we shouldn't be charging fees to borough residents, the fact remains it takes a significant amount of time and effort for borough employees to remove trash, to maintain the buildings, to clean up after an event's over, to clean the bathrooms. And to be able to charge a modest fee is a way to be able to help recoup some of those.
I'm glad you're bringing that up. We will get to that.
Okay.
Okay? You're trying to get this thing over. I'd like to get out of here before breakfast tomorrow morning too.
Very good.
I always apply for a reservation right after I have a reunion
For a pavilion, okay.
for the next year. I did so in September of 2012. Then I get this fine letter from the Borough of Mechanicsburg, dated April the 2nd, 2013. Borough of Mechanicsburg requires that everyone who chooses to rent a pavilion fill out a pavilion rental form, pay the service for fee associated with the rental. This fee is utilized to help to offset the cost of providing electricity, water, garbage service, and so forth. Now, it came to the borough's attention that I signed up to rent that pavilion in May the 18th of 2013. And on that, it comes that, first of all, the Parks and Recreation are still at Elmwood Avenue. And the rental fee to be $25. I pick up the phone, try to call the rec board out there. It says, welcome, I can rent, or I can make reservations for a pavilion in the beautiful Mechanicsburg Parks at no charge. And here I am holding this paper, it says $25. Wrong address. And also, I'm going to relieve Upper Allen Township and its officials of any responsibility.
You're talking about typos that the Parks and Recreation Department make, which is...
Well, I think that's one heck of a big typo. When this thing was designed, no, wait a minute. This thing was all put through, there's papers were requested from the office out there by the end of the year. Here it comes April, and I just now get them. 3 weeks away from having a reunion. What do I do?
Jay, I'm not going to argue in any way, shape, or form that the transition of having the Recreation Department do that, there were definite hiccups with that. That letter, while it's on our letterhead, the information that was created came out of Tanya's office, and I'm not blaming anybody, but...
Well, the phone conversation and the address should have sure been changed when they were changed.
I agree.
There's no argument. I understand that.
So if you're following what's happening, somebody's not. Also, they're supposed to do electricity, pavilion, garbage, recycle containers, and all that, and they will be cleaned up and empty. Well, needless to say, if you've ever rented one, and you rent one, and you went to it, it's full of sand, bottles, glass, everything else, what do you do? Now, I think I polled the council people. No one knew anything about this thing of a charge on it. And I even talked to you right out here in the hallway. And you didn't know about it. You told me you didn't know about it. When a few minutes later, it all at once popped in here that, well, there might have been something. And you and I were talking about that.
With all due respect, Mr. Stoner, you and I have different recollections from that conversation.
Well, I could take you out right to the spot.
I'm sure you could.
And let you see that.
I'm sure you could.
Okay?
Thank you.
Then, I went out, made the application, made sure those things were into the borough before the end of the year. Why did it take till April to get that letter?
Respectfully, sir, I would have to direct that question to the rec office.
They had them in here. I talked to them. They had sent them to the borough. The borough was sitting on them.
Respectfully, sir, I disagree.
Now, then I asked Mr. Miller, a couple times that I spoke to him, and in that conversation, he became sort of, I wouldn't say real pleasant about it. Would only walk by and say, yeah, I got your letter, which I took up to his house. He was down at the Crime Watch meeting, good. And then when I asked him several times, he didn't seem to know an answer, walked away. So, I submitted a letter to his, took it up to his, and yes, it is handwritten. And my letter that I got back, that this will serve as a response to your undated, handwritten note delivered to my residence. Yes, it's handwritten. The other half, undated, if somebody would have read the whole letter, it's dated at the end of it. So we're only half right. Contrary to claims, the request for park pavilion rentals was proposed by borough staff, and I don't know who the borough staff was.
Tanya Brown, myself, Craig Hinger.
The utility fees associated with such facilities. Number two, after staff's proposal was provided, I supported this revenue item, but requested that it be reduced for borough residents. totally was not the case because the rest of the council people had to tell him it had to be lower. Now, park rental included revenue of the budget was debated at the Public Finance Committee meeting on October the 30th, 2012, and further adopted 6-to-1 vote. And I guess it was done there at the Finance Committee?
It was part of the budget, which was then passed by a 6-to-1 vote.
Well, my gosh, how many people were at that meeting? Your minutes show there was 5 people. How can you have a 6-to-1 vote?
The budget was passed at a council meeting. It was recommended to council at the finance committee meeting, and then it was passed at a council meeting.
But it never came here to the floor because I was here at the meeting.
A budget has to come to the floor.
It did not that, yeah, the budget came out, but not that particular subject. Also, pavilion rental rates are competitive with neighboring municipalities. Remain low in comparison. Well, I got a list of Laura Allen's schedule, and also on my half-typed, I guess on the computer, half-written that you can't make out, was on here that, I think it's down here at the bottom, that I have planned family reunions where pavilions rental fees similar to Memorial Park were $250. I think you guys are really missing out at 25 when you can get $250. Anybody go up there and rent that green pavilion for $250 for 4 hours in the afternoon? I don't think so. That's a bunch of garbage. Says that he spoke to the borough manager, Parks and Recreation Department about bringing him back into the borough. And I asked Mr. Miller about the sand and all that in it. I know there's going to be stuff in it when kids playing. He said, oh, it has to be cleaned out. Well, I wish I would have brought the pictures along of everybody in there sweeping and blowing with a blower to get the glass and the sand and all that stuff out. I said to him, if it didn't clean on Sunday when I go up there for it, I'm going to be down at your house. Why would you come down after me? Because you told me it has to be clean if I'm paying $25. I paid $25 and got a dirty pavilion. And I would like, there's some more on here, but I'm going to let you go. I need to know what the one word might be on your letter. It's spelled R-E-E-S-T-A-B-L-I-S-H-E-D.
Reestablished?
Called reestablished.
Is that the way you spell it? My dictionary don't spell it that way.
Okay.
I'm sorry that I made a typo.
And my thing is, should you have complaints about park pavilions, rental fees, or anything else in regard to this matter, you may take your complaints to the newly, if that's reestablished, Recreation Board. You never got rid of the Recreation Board. How do you have a reestablishment? And why would the Rec Board, that's why I wanted to know whether the Rec Board and the rentals is the same. Apparently they're not. I'm going to go to the Rec Board now. I go out to Shepherdstown, pay my rent, sign my paper. It goes to the school. The borough doesn't even get the money. It goes to the school.
And Mr. Stoner, as people throughout the community continue to learn about this process, there is a joint rec board.
Yes.
That's funded from school district and municipal dollars.
Yeah, because we can't take care of it in here. So they have, the school takes care of it.
Thank you. Thank you for your input.
You know. Well, why do I go to the rec board that we were trying to get rid of? How am I going to rent anything if I got to go to them and complain about it?
Pat, will we be bringing the pavilion rentals in-house with the...
Well, we've had a couple of cursory discussions with Tanya. What the issue is that they have a piece of software called ActiveNet that we don't currently have in the borough office. They're also good at scheduling the pavilions. We've never done that before. I also have a minimal amount of staff to do that. Jay, candidly, the department head meetings that we've discussed, and I have one of my department heads here tonight as well as the fire chief who's in those meetings as well. The point and the genesis of the discussion for the pavilion rentals is that it's a level of accountability for the people that should be cleaning them. And what we've seen since we've instituted the pavilion rentals is that people have been more vocal with their expectations for what we do as staff with those pavilions, meaning that moving forward into 2014, I'm going to have a guy come in on Saturdays and Sundays to clean them out, because simply putting the garbage bags beneath the trash cans and things like that has not been fruitful, because people don't clean up after themselves. They don't. So we've talked about that both internally and externally with Tanya as a member of our team as well. And I think some of the confusion that you bring up is totally validated, and that you're not the only person that says, why am I renting a pavilion in the park, yet I'm writing a check to the Mechanicsburg Area School District. We're out to set and to fix that before January 1, so that won't happen to anybody moving forward. I don't disagree with that. I think you're exactly right. I think it's confusing. That being said, that is, while not overly complicated, we need to make sure that we know what we're doing so you don't end up at your family reunion at the same time in a pavilion as somebody else. So I think that while I understand your perspective and your passion against the pavilion rental fees, I think in the last 6 months to a year that we've instituted them, we've gotten better feedback than we have in the previous 4 years that I'm here. And the goal of doing that was to provide a level of accountability to people, not only the people that use the pavilions, but for me to have a voice. And that's come up at some of the rec board meetings prior to the budget. When we have, say, St. Joe's has a large gathering there, it gets trashed. And so I've had to say to myself and my team, we have to bring somebody in on the weekends, and we've already set that in works with having our janitor who comes in there is probably going to work weekends because of his religious affiliation. He most likely needs Thursdays and Fridays as opposed to Saturdays and Sundays. So we found a way to try to minimize overtime and do that too. So I hear you, I understand where you're at, but we're some positives that come out of it.
What do? I have people coming in from out of town, which I think is a good thing to bring people in town. You're trying to get people in. No, you're running people out right now because I'm going to take my reunion someplace else. So now you're going to lose 25 bucks. How much were you getting in on the donations? Because I know I was paying more than $25. I'm going to pay $25 now. So you're losing something. And you're sure not making anything out of that. What do I do on Sunday when I get down there with 50 people and the place is all cluttered up? What do I do?
Well, Jay, just to clarify a point,
I know what you said.
Well, just to muddy the waters a little bit more, the borough never received a donation from the money that you donated never came.
No, it went into them and then went to the school. So you had no idea.
Correct. So the genesis and again the discussion is how do we cover our cost instead of giving away a free service that
people didn't know that.
I'm no argument. I didn't know it until 2.5 years ago, and I've worked here 5 years.
I didn't know it.
It's just bizarre sometimes.
I
think we.
But as far as your expense, what if I go up there and just decide that we're going to drive through there and have a big party on Saturday and I fill all the trash cans up? Who empties them?
Well, somebody now moving forward next year will empty them.
But do they get paid for it? No, the borough doesn't get. No, they don't.
Well, the borough will be compensating them.
They can't. How can they?
I think, Jay, what he's saying, he's saying the people who are going to clean out the trash cans are going to get paid.
Right.
That's what you said.
Right, that's what I
Yeah,
said.
but you're going to get paid either way.
Well, yeah.
So it's not costing expense for me being up there Sunday. Maybe they were loaded on Saturday.
Yeah, and if I have a guy come in with let's say we do 4 pavilion rentals in a weekend and at $25 a piece because it's for borough residents, I'm working with $100 there. I have the son come in twice in the weekend, 2 hours a week, I pay him $11 an hour, now I'm covering my cost. And I'm able to put money the next time if I have to have 2 guys come in. So we're trying to run it like a business, and again, we have a difference of opinion on it.
I understand that when they have band competitions, midget football games, and various things like that, cheerleaders, that place is in 1/8 shape after they leave.
No argument. Agree.
And that costs, how much does that cost? They don't pay nothing.
No, they do not.
That's right, they get it free. And another way is, I rent the place, 7 days I can get my money back. I'm going to go up and have a reunion on the day that I had scheduled. What's my chances in 5 days of somebody renting? I'm going to go rent it free. I get my 25 bucks back. And you pick up the expense of cleaning it up. You haven't gained anything except torque people off. That's all you've done. and he was at the head of it.
Thank you, Mr. Stoner, for your comment. Is there any other public comment this evening? Yes, sir.
Hi, Jack Winchell, 27 West Main, and I really wanted to see out of this body of something that they weren't guilty of, or that they were not proven guilty of.
They weren't proven innocent either.
You got me, Matt. But in this country, we live by innocence or guilt, and they were proven not guilty.
Actually, sir, what the district justice said, and I don't know if you were there for her announcement, the position was that the owner of the building and her property manager were taking the position that they had no idea that these people that they were renting to were actually residing in it. What the district justice stated was, after Mr. Walker, not this Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker had stated that that was a lie, the district justice, as you may recall, told him to sit down and be quiet, and stated that the manager is responsible, so is the property owner, and that the district justice had no doubt in her mind that both the owner of that building as well as the manager knew that those individuals were residing and living in that property. What the district justice went on to say, as the manager indicated, said that the borough should have acted prompter in enforcing this and bringing those citations against the property owner sooner than they did, and encouraged, based on that, a different way of pursuing matters of violation. So I think it's important to have the whole story here, and sitting through the whole days of the testimony that was presented, all the police officers, all the 19 police reports, the incidents reports that were prepared involving the occupants of the property, where police arrived, multiple police officers at one time, arriving at 2 o'clock in the morning to deal with domestic cases there, that the evidence that was presented, as the district justice said, that there's no doubt that they were living there. But the burden was on the municipality and the procedures and waiting and trying to work with the property owner for such a long time that inured in her favor. Additionally, the magisterial district justice applied was under the misapprehension that the proceedings were as a civil nature, and she indicated on the record, well, Borough, you can appeal this decision. Clearly, it was a criminal. No, we cannot. It was a criminal proceeding. So the senior magisterial district justice didn't realize that the borough could not appeal her decision, and she welcomed us too, but we were hamstrung in doing that. So I don't think it's really fair, sir, to say that the evidence that was presented did not indicate that the structure was not occupied.
What isn't fair is for 3 of you that are implying that they were guilty and they were not found guilty. I mean, that is what's not fair.
Mr. Winchell, I'd like to read into the record here the transcript from Judge Knepper's decision, beginning on page 3. Magisterial Judge Knepper stated, "Let me put it this way. There is fault on both sides, okay? As far as Walker and Ms. Willis, you had noticed July 31st, 2012 that we have a problem here. Do I have a question that the Uhlans were living there? I don't have a question to that at all. They were living there, and I think you guys knew it all. You guys all knew they were living there, and that is your fault. Now come on."
Did you know
Mr.
that,
Walker, absolutely not. Magisterial Judge Knepper, just be quiet. Therefore, as far as the boroughs fall down on procedure here, I'm going to find them not guilty because they needed to notify them in writing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mr. Dennis, clearly. Magisterial Judge Knepper, okay, I know you are upset with this, I can't blame you. I know the problems have been there, okay? It's been a nightmare. You knew, July 31st, you knew there was a problem. You as the manager, and this is the property manager, Mike Bennett, who's an employee of Mr. Walker, you as the manager, Mr. Walker, are responsible for taking care of those properties. That is why she pays you, okay? It was your responsibility to get in there and find out what the problems were and make sure they were corrected. If not, just evacuate the place. Do you understand? Don't ever let this happen again. Get on top of stuff and keep up with it. You have put the borough in a very bad position, both of you. You knew, okay? There is no question in my mind that you didn't know. But on procedure-wise, as far as the law goes, I'm going to find you both not guilty. You do have 30 days to appeal to the Court of Common Pleas in Cumberland County trial de novo. Court is adjourned, whereupon the proceedings were concluded. Right there, it's the judge's decision.
So just to make your point, you said they weren't found innocent, you just read there that they were found not
The
guilty.
judge acknowledges that these poor souls with mental illness were living in a structure for $585 a month and living on a blow-up mattress, while the property owner was more than happy to take their check.
Frankly,
But yet-
I've never used the word guilty either.
I didn't say
I've
you
never
did.
used the word guilty,
said
so
you
I
implied that they
don't
were
appreciate those words being put in my mouth.
Be offended, that's okay.
What I do believe is that Mr. Walker and Ms. Willis put the borough in a very bad position, and things could have ended up in an extremely worse
And the
situation.
borough didn't put themselves in a bad position, I mean, the
We
judge
put
just
ourselves in
admitted
a
that.
bad position because we
Judge
treated
just
residents
said
too
that.
nicely. We treated residents too nicely.
And I think if you listen to the audience tonight, you will agree that that's not what's happening. But back to my original question, there was no witnesses that came forth that said that there was a blow-up mattress in there on that third day of testimony.
It's not true.
That is most definitely true.
It's not true. Prove it. In fact, I would like to have the 4 pages of the transcript included as a part of this meeting's record. I'll provide these to Doc.
I'm curious as to why you.
Ma'am, would you like to,
tonight.
would you please come up to the microphone and give your name and address,
Yeah,
please?
you know who I am. I'm Glenn Blair, and you know I live someplace in town.
229 West
Glenn, I
Locust.
wish you would follow the procedure everybody else does and say where you live. Give us your
Linda,
street number and address.
the antagonism and everything that I get from the president of the council, that's why I come up like that.
But there are a whole group of people here, and I think it
And
would be
most of them
courteous.
know me very well by now.
So you think you're exempt from?
No, I'm not saying I'm exempt.
You're just not going to do what we ask.
Exactly right.
Glenda, you might as well just give your address and be done with it, and it will make the thing run a lot smoother.
I'd like to know why you carried them into the meeting tonight if you didn't have an idea that the subject was gonna come up.
Because I'm a Boy Scout through and through, unprepared.
Oh, I could say something about that, but I won't.
Very good.
Don't bring that one up, man.
Patrick, have you noticed that the new crosswalks, the brick crosswalks, and yes, I realize we had 9 inches of rain in 48 hours, but with the new crosswalks, 1, we now have a rumble when we drive across them, and 2, water is pooling at those crosswalks,
Take a look at it, Glenda.
okay?
Which
Excuse me, which crosswalk?
Yeah, which
Is
specific
wrong.
ones are you talking about, Glenda? So
I've seen it on the square, it's at York and Main, and it's pulling, at the curb line, and then it's coming out across.
But if you drive across it, it won't.
Yeah,
It's supposed to.
the other ones didn't. First ones didn't rumble, these
Oh,
rumbled.
you're talking about the 2 different types of material on Main Street. The
Yes.
ones, the imprinted ones, they don't rumble, the other ones, 2 different material, Glenda. The ones on Main and soon to be Walnut tomorrow and York, they're different materials, so they will rumble.
It feels like you're in Lemoyne going across stairs.
They're not that bad, let's not do that.
They're not that big, but that's.
Fighting words. Yeah, I was gonna say, let's.
Is there any other citizens' comments this evening? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Richard Snyder, 338 West Main.
Thank you.
The condition of the park after some of the football games and a lot of others, yeah, it is kind of atrocious. Possible resource, scouts, boys and girls need service projects. It would be good to include them in that. Might save us a few bucks, just a thought.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other citizens' comments or requests? Anyone at all? Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Down in Orchard Crest this week, people got pink 8.5 by 10 or 11 papers that someone is going to come around and for $20 paint your house number on your curb. It doesn't say what organization it is, if it's been approved by the borough,
I'll follow up with you, I'll follow up with them.
okay? Because it was brought to the Crime Watch meeting last night.
I'll follow up.
And you're supposed to put the yellow sheet of paper in your window if you want it painted on your curb in front of your house,
Yeah, I'll follow up with the client.
okay?
Any other citizens' comments or requests? You've all been very patient. I thank you for your time this evening. Are there any additions to the agenda? Are there any additions to the agenda? Very good. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Councilman Whitcomb so moves. Is there
I'll
a second?
second.
Councilwoman Harding seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. Correspondence.
I have no correspondence.
Very good. Approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting
I'll
held
make that.
October 1st,
I'll
2013?
make that
Councilwoman
motion.
Hume so moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Whitcomb seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have two changes.
Councilman Miller.
On the third page, first paragraph, it states in the 5th line, 4th and 5th line, Councilman Miller asked if the borough has had the credit cards for both accounts. That should be Mr. Sechrist, President Sechrist. And then further down in the paragraph, President Sechrist asked Councilman Miller if he could provide a copy of the minutes of the Joint Recreation Board meeting. Miller should be changed to Stoner, and also in the following sentence, where it says Councilman Miller stated that he would provide those minutes, it should be Councilman Stoner stated that he would provide those minutes.
Yes, that's the way I remembered. I didn't read it as quick, as carefully as you did.
Okay, the motion is to approve the minutes. Is there, does the maker of the motion agree to?
Yes, I
the
do.
correction?
Yes.
Councilwoman Humes so moves. Does the seconder?
Yes.
Councilman Whitcomb agrees to the amendment. Is there any other amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor of approving the motion to approve the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, the minutes are approved. Is there a report from the manager?
Yes, Ron Adams is here tonight from the wastewater treatment plant. Ron sent me an email earlier this week and volunteered his time to come in to talk about the 8.5, 9 inches of rain and the process that the guys went through while number 1 and number 2 were both on vacation. So, Ron, you want to go ahead and then you can kick it back to me.
I'm just here to commend my staff for the great job they did during this last weather event. I left town for vacation, they were calling for some showers, and then second in command at the sewer plant, Frank Gusweiler, left on vacation, and we got 8.5 inches of rain at the sewer plant, which NOAA calls a 100-year storm. I just want to mention Greg Reniker, my collection systems operator, and Jeff Bricker, my head operator, along with Mark Wills and Jim Boyer, and even our new hire, Vanessa Moore, all were pulling 8 to 12-hour shifts, and they just did a fantastic job. I wanted to publicly commend them. I couldn't be prouder of my staff.
Did we lose anything on?
We had some problems at the one pump station that we normally have problems with. The new treatment plant actually took the storm very, very well. I have high protocols in place for high water events like this, but it's a new plant and we had never seen anything like this before, so the guys were modifying things on the fly. I was in contact with them on my cell phone, but everything went really
Well, if
well.
everything went the way it's supposed to in this rain, it's gonna handle anything you can give it.
NOAA called it a 100-year storm, so hopefully we don't see another one. Well, I mean, we had a 100-year storm 2 years ago.
It's quick 100-year storms.
On another note, just some of these stormwater improvements that the borough's been working on have actually made a difference. I always said up in the Allison Avenue pump station drainage area that solving the stormwater problems up there would go a long way towards solving some of the sewer problems up there. And I think that between cleaning of the Darla area, where the underground drainage area, and putting in the Shepherdstown Road interceptor, both made a difference. We never went into alarm at Allison Avenue this time.
Good.
Ron, can I ask you a question? Sure. Down there on Concord and Apple, did that go away faster?
It went away at the new pumps that were put in down there have been performing with all these storms.
I knew over there for a while, when I worked for it, you're talking hours for it to go down.
There's limitations as to the size of the pipe and everything.
Right.
But all reports are that it's been draining out at a little faster than it did before, but because of the pipe limitations.
Now, the other
we
question,
can't
did
do
you
it.
hit your capacity? Did you hit your input capacity?
No.
Okay.
New pumps, new tanks, gave us a little more room.
I figured it would, but I didn't know how it's done, man, and go from with it.
No backup. That's it.
Thanks, Ron.
Mr. Adams, thank you for everything that your folks did to kindly relate.
Thank you.
I'll pass that over to my staff.
Yes,
Please do.
please do.
They don't get enough recognition. I really appreciate it.
The crosswalks that are being installed on Walnut Street and Main Street should be started tomorrow, as well as the repair and replacement of the one on North Market and Main. So look for that work to start tomorrow. Right now, I'm in the midst of a liquid fuels audit from PennDOT, which are about the equivalent of getting a root canal. So PennDOT's in here right now, so we're dealing with that. The budget will be out on Friday. I'm waiting for a couple more things. We had one more volunteer meeting that I had to take care of this morning for getting their, or this afternoon, getting their request in. That'll be out on Friday. As Ron alluded to, the modifications that we've made in some of our stormwater areas, Hines Road and Elmwood Avenue. Hines stayed very valiant for a while. We had a little bit of ponding there towards the end, but then it dissipated relatively quickly, which is very nice. That was definitely getting bad. In Elmwood Avenue, there was no Lake Elmwood, as well as no water on Darlow Road. So I would think in the last 18 months, we made a lot of modifications. And as the Holberts brought up, our next one on the list is Byers Alley, because my guess is that that pipe that goes into the park is probably clogged, just as the inlet and the pipe in Hines Road was deteriorated and broken. So I'm sure it's a similar problem, which we now have become experts at fixing. And other than that, thank you again, and I'm glad Ron came tonight. It's always comforting to know that you get a call from Delaware, from your sewer director, when you're in Reading, that you can still make things function. So we did an excellent job, and I'm really happy that the guys are so well trained, starting from the top to the bottom. So we are lucky to have that, and thank you, Ron, and thank your guys, and I'm glad you came. That's end of report. Oh, and I do the engineers too. I mean, he would have probably said the same thing about the stormwater issues that we had. He actually called me, and was equally as excited about it. So, you know, Greg has a passion for it, and I think he was excited that the stuff on Hines worked as well. So that was another good project. And as I said, the next one we'll work on, we'll have the highway department involved on the one on Byers Alley to see if this apparatus that we're going to work with can work and function and clean that problem up. So end of reports.
Great, thank you. Mayor's report, Mayor Ritter.
Thank you, Mr. President. September 24th, the Humble Miniature Flea Circus performed at the Joseph T. Simpson Public Library for a youth reading group. The 25th, guest speaker for the Sons of Italy at the Mechanicsburg VFW. I know stuff about Mechanicsburg, now they know stuff. The 27th, the Wildcat Alumni Association after-game homecoming 2013 party at the Mechanicsburg Club. The 29th, performed the Humble Miniature Flea Circus for the Mechanicsburg Vietnam Veterans Picnic at Kosher Park. First time the fleas have performed outside, not escaped. October 3rd, attended a retirement ceremony for Rear Admiral Mark Heinrich, Chief of Naval Supply Systems Command. 4th, attended a retirement ceremony for Captain James W. Smart at the Mechanicsburg Naval Support Activity. October 5th, officiated wedding at the Strauch's Farms recently renovated barn on Williams Grove Road. The 7th Union Church annual meeting for officers and proprietors. Noticed the recently added new front doors. 8th, Halloween Parade. Great parade and crisp weather were enjoyed by families and neighbors. Thanks to volunteers and contributors for a parade well done. The 9th, the mayor's team played wheelchair basketball at the Mechanicsburg Middle School, bringing attention to the Workforce Diversity Department of NAPSUC. The 12th, officiated wedding at Gettysburg for a National Guard couple planning to be deployed. 14th, Crime Watch Sergeant Brian Curtis, Mechanicsburg Police Department, gave an update on incidents in the borough for the past 30 days. Crime Watch guest was Bob Burig, owner of the Myers-Burig Funeral Home and Crematory. Bob was backed by popular demand. Green funerals were discussed. Trivia question. The Mechanicsburg Museum Association oversees and maintains 5 buildings within the borough of Mechanicsburg. Can you name them?
Frankenberger Tavern.
Huh? What?
Frankenberger Tavern, Station Master's House, the old train station,
Oh, you got help.
the one at the park, and then
Maybe Washington.
Frankie Burger Tavern, did you mention it?
Yeah.
You got that?
Union Church.
Frank Burger, Passenger Station, Freight Station, Station Master's House, Tavern, and the Washington Street Station. I'll give you
stations
this.
to light
You've
this.
tried. That's yours. Come up after the meeting. End of report. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Mayor. Chief of Police reports, Chief Spots.
Thank you. Just let everyone know that Officer Michael Bettis was recognized by the Pennsylvania DUI Association as a DUI top gun for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He's one of only a handful of police officers across the Commonwealth to be honored for his effectiveness in DUI enforcement. Along with the other award winners, he'll be honored at a banquet at their annual training in November. We received a commendation from St. Joseph's School for our planning and assistance with an active shooter tabletop exercise they conducted recently with their entire staff, including their part-time. Everybody was there. It was an amazing experience, and I think went very well. I received a commendation for Officer Vincent from a victim for his work in a stolen identity case, and Lieutenant Myers received a commendation for her work in planning and executing the Halloween Parade Incident Action Plan. That's it, end of report.
Thank you, Chief. Solicitor's report, Attorney Coyne.
Just to update everyone from the last meeting with regard to the Mechanicsburg Storage and Transfer Project Land Development, which is Mr. Gross's project. The drainage release was recorded, the Recorder of Deeds, and I believe the actual developer's agreement has now been signed by all the general partners and is coming back to the borough for signature by Mr. President, and we're ready to move forward with that.
Thanks.
We also had the Halloween parade that night. On the 9th, I met with Senior Field Representative Philip Lightman and Jason Scott. They are from the Community Mitigation Services, or the ISO. They were revisiting the borough for our Class 3 rating and our insurance. I'd like to publicly thank the codes officer, the borough manager, and staff for helping put some of the information together. There are still 5 items outstanding that need to be finished up and forwarded to them for them to complete their study. On October the 10th, I attended the Borough Fire Consolidation meeting. On the 12th, I attended a refresher class on phone, use of phone, both for Class A and Class B phones. That would also encompass areas with the new service of ethanol going through the tank cars through our borough on the way out to the storage area in Silver Springs Township. Today I visited Bragg Publications buildings number 6 and 8 with their safety and security person looking at establishing Knox boxes to be installed in the next couple of weeks. Upcoming events, the library, Friends of the Library are having a book sale coming up, and they've requested Company 28 to provide them lighting at their book sale coming up on October the 25th. And also, just for anyone's, if they're available, Citizens Fire and Rescue Company are having a soup and sandwich on October the 25th from 5 to 7. And also the Citizens Fire Company before the next council meeting. And Election is having their turkey supper, and that's from 4 o'clock till they run out of food. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Junior Councilman DeFalsis.
About 2.5 weeks ago, cross-country guys took 5th place at the Carlisle Invitational, which had over 50 schools from Pennsylvania and surrounding states. And the week before that, they took 3rd place at the Big Spring Invitational.
Very good. Very good. Congratulations to them. You're on cross-country?
Yeah, I'm on varsity.
Okay. Well, there's next year. Very good.
More handsome and more useful, so it's a good thing.
That's great. That's great. Any other comments? Hearing none, the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the certificate of appropriateness signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the application is approved.
Discussion and possible action on the renewal of the following handicap parking permit applications for 2 years from January 1st, 2014 to December 31st, 2015. Robert Galley, 416 South High Street.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Councilman Whitcomb moves.
I'll
the approval.
second.
Councilwoman Humes seconds. Is there any discussion?
Is that a motion for approval or denial?
There was a motion for approval.
That's correct.
Thank you for the clarification. Councilman Whitcomb makes a motion to approve, Councilwoman Hume seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the application is approved.
James Gibb, 50 West Keller Street.
Is there a motion?
Motion to deny.
Councilwoman Hume makes a motion to deny the application. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Miller seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to deny the application of James Gibbs of 50 West Keller Street signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the denial is approved.
Corlin Greco, 23 East Cooper Street.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Councilman Whitcomb makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Miller seconds. Is there any discussion?
Would it be possible if we agree to approve the rest of the applicants throughout the list, if we could do items 3 through 10?
Councilman Miller, respectfully, there's a motion on the table.
If we could amend the motion?
But
If the council feels that the rest should be approved, could the motion be amended to include items or residences, application, or permits 3 through 10?
So you're adding the rest of them in on your motion?
If you
It'll be
will.
your,
My motion.
yeah. I'm just asking you because we have a list of 7 more, and if we want to approve all of them, we can.
And I have absolutely no problem with that, because I was going to recommend that to begin.
So Councilman Whitcomb amends his motion to approve.
The remainder of the handicap parking spaces from item number 3 down.
I'll second if we don't have a second.
Okay, my recollection was that there was a second
Okay,
originally.
that's fine.
Councilman Whitcomb consented to have his motion amended.
I seconded the motion.
Councilman Miller
And
seconded
then
the
the
motion.
recommendation, I will amend my second.
Very good. Okay, so just so everybody's clear, the motion is now currently to approve all applications from application number 3 to the remainder, through the remainder of the rest of the page. Is there any, very good. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the balance of the application signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the applications are approved.
Approval of capital general highway, sewer, and capital sewer fund expenditures from September 1st, 2013 through September 30th, 2013.
I'll make that motion.
Councilman Whitcomb so moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilwoman Harding seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to pay the bills signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are paid. Are there any other citizens' comments this evening? Yes, sir. Would you kindly give your name and address, please?
My name's Dan Williams. I live at 105 East Allen Street.
Thank you.
Just real briefly, I wanted to mention that the first block of East Green Street, which is, you may be aware of, is on the south side of Thinking Minor Park, is one way with the direction of travel being eastbound. However, there's a stop sign at Market Street for the westbound traffic, so it really serves no purpose. Plus, it's rusted. I don't know if that used to be a two-way section of the street. So I just wanted to recommend that maybe council would consider removing the stop sign.
The reason that's still there is because of people that cannot read the do not enter signs at the other end. And I live right there. And I let them know when they say, why is that stop sign there? I said, because you can't read the 2 signs that said do not enter. I know. Actually, I asked the highway crew if they had a spare sign. It said, it wasn't really good. Hang it back up.
Thank you. Thank you for the input. Ladies and gentlemen, is there any other citizens' comments or requests this evening? Hearing none. Thank you again for all of you for your patience tonight. You've been very patient. Is there any other business to come before council? Office Manager Boyer.
No.
Manager Dennis.
I think so.
Chief Spots.
Just a reminder that Streets and Treats is this Saturday, 19th.
Very good. Mayor Ritter. Councilwoman Humes.
Well, thank you to the fire departments. They visited my granddaughter's nursery school on, I forget what day last week, and they're wonderful pictures, and they made firemen's hats, and I'm sure they visited a lot of other schools, but she enjoyed it, and they all did. Thank you.
Very good. Councilman Miller?
I just wish the chief of police and our police officers the best of luck in their investigations with the recent robberies. And I also thank them for their cooperation in posting items to the website.
We're getting used to it.
And I appreciate it, and I've gotten comments on being able to see the security images from those robbery incidents on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilman. Councilman McDermott?
Just want to thank everyone again involved with the Halloween parade last week. Also, I had the opportunity to, with my grandson, attend the walk and the bike to school last week at Broad Street. It was just great seeing the drive-through being blocked off. A ton of kids just walking there and just enjoying the moment. And just great how everything really worked out well. So thank you very much.
Very good. I'd only like to remind everybody in the community of the very important Planning Commission work session scheduled for October 21st at 6:30 p.m., during which time the Planning Commission will not be conducting formal business, but will be soliciting and receiving community input on the possible development, hopefully the development of the Hess Tract. It should be a very informative session, and anybody who's interested in what the future holds with that tract of property, as well as if you have any ideas of what should be done with it, please feel welcome to attend that meeting. It's open to the public. It'll take place in this room, so please consider yourselves all invited to participate in that. Also, just like to send out a congratulations to the students at Cumberland Perry Vocational Technical School Electronics Technology class. They got a really great write-up in yesterday's Carlisle Sentinel. The students were pretty excited to see their pictures on the front of the newspaper, and asked me to relay to everybody that 5 of the 30 fixtures have been completely refitted and are ready to go. 11 are halfway finished, and the other 16 are due to be rehabbed and to try to meet the manager's deadline of October 31st. I believe that's what the deadline is. That's all I have. Solicitor Floyd?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilwoman Harding?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When is our next meeting?
Next meeting is Monday, November 4th.
Right.
It's a good question. Monday, November 4th at 7:30 p.m.
7 p.m.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock p.m.
Okay.
Thanks for the question. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Councilman Stoner? Councilman Whitcomb?
No, sir.
Mr. Adams? Thanks again for everything. Junior Councilman DeFaustas? Very good. Is there, we will recess to executive session for the purpose of discussing matters of personnel with action to be taken. That said, we will recess.
That means they're coming back.